Hello, everyone. We'll see if my video is starting or not. Am I live? Hello, it is Dr. Trevor from Peak Potential Physiotherapy and Wellness here in Collierville, Tennessee. Again, figuring out if I'm live or not. I think I was silent there a little bit here recently. But going to come to you with some information about what physical therapy can help with and some things that I've experienced after being sick recently. We can't put in the title or anything what I had, but I believe many of you could imagine what was going on with that. So I'm just making sure that I am going live here, and if I can share it correctly. So here we go. So thank you again for bearing with me since this is still new to me. So let me just make sure. You after you're sick. Okay. So, again, it's Dr. Trevor from Peak Potential Physiotherapy and Wellness right here in Collierville, Tennessee. So many people are dealing with being sick recently. We don't know what it's called or how it's going to be or how long it's going to be or what the downstream ramifications are from this. But yes, I had it. It took me about 48 hours to feel better. I felt like I had gotten steamrolled and had the worst case of the flu, which I had never had or I have not had in 10 plus years. So if you have questions as I go along with this, please put it in the comments below. I don't know if this can be a dialogue as much as when I give my workshops and when I speak publicly. If this can be a dialogue, even better. I'll monitor the comments and we'll look at those before I'm done and answer any questions that are going on. So I was sick recently and I don't have a good understanding of how someone feels until I have had to deal with it. So I've dealt with back pain, I've dealt with neck pain, I've had knee injuries, I've had shoulder injuries, I've had pretty much everything you could have musculoskeletally going on, but I hadn't dealt with I guess I can say it, I just can't write it. I haven't dealt with COVID before. So I had it, I guess, right before New Year's. Felt really bad, didn't have any issues, then had a fever, then was difficult to talk for a long time. And yeah, I know, difficult for me to talk is a hard thing to think about. But difficult to talk for more than 20 minutes without getting hoarse. And I have someone in my immediate family, someone who most people know, that also had it, and she's still dealing with a cough. So what we are figuring out is what are the downstream ramifications from being sick or having an illness, okay? One is I did not feel like I was hydrated enough. We tell people all the time that you need to stay hydrated, and I wasn't taking even my own advice because it didn't taste good. You know, I didn't lose my taste or smell, but it didn't taste good. I didn't eat, I didn't do anything. But you have to force yourself to drink your water, okay? So half your body weight in ounces. I'm going through a lot. The only thing I was going to go through was some breathing techniques so that we can increase the expansion of our rib cage and force any stuff out so we can actually get breath or air into the lower third of our lungs where we can actually absorb that oxygen. But I'm also going to tell you other things that I was dealing with when I was sick and had this illness and what I'm still dealing with even. My energy levels are back up, but I do have issues if I speak or if I talk for longer than 30, 45 minutes still. My voice will get a bit hoarse or raspy. It might even be now. We have an intern right now who I was just teaching for the last 45 minutes or so with. So that happens. And these are common symptoms that are sticking around from this problem, no matter if you've had shots or if you haven't had shots. So we can get into a whole other discussion about that if I don't get kicked off with that stuff. But the sheer fact is that people are getting this, and it is a common issue, okay? So people don't know that physical therapy can actually help a lot with these symptoms during, or actually more symptoms after, and how we can make sure that we get back to our normal selves again, okay? So one is just making yourself breathe correctly. And so the way that I've been teaching people even prior to this and even with this is making sure that I'm breathing correctly. Is I have someone imagine a balloon, an inverted balloon. So then the mouth of the balloon is at your neck, and it comes down and then expands down into your stomach, and the bottom or the top of the balloon is sitting down here. So you have the big round balloon here, and then the neck of the balloon at your neck. Okay, does that make sense? If so, you can drop in the comments, say, yeah, I got the balloon. Okay, so with all that said, is how can I increase the expansion of my ribs to allow more air to get into the lungs so that I can get more oxygen into my bloodstream? Other things that I have had happen is I didn't feel stuffed up, like I could breathe, but then sleeping was difficult because I was coughing a lot. Okay, so when you're coughing a lot or not breathing well, is then you're not going to sleep well. And so we've talked about it a lot before. You have to get that sleep between 10 and 2. So after you've gone through your symptoms and being able to get back to your normal routine, make sure you're getting that 10 to 2 sleep, or the restorative sleep. Because when your body is fighting something, I was tracking my sleep. My temperature was up, my heart rate was up, and everything was elevated, not allowing me to get that good restorative sleep and to allow me to feel rested. Okay? So, with all that said, get back onto your routine as quickly as possible. Don't forget your hydration. And something else that we can teach you and help you with is breathing techniques, as well as so cardiovascular fitness is something we can look into, checking blood pressure, heart rate, pulse oximetry, so that we know that you have good perfusion of that blood, which goes into your breathing patterns, your strength gains, pulmonary issues. We can teach you how to breathe into certain part of your lungs, how to even help expel some of those things. So I'm not going to get too much in the weeds, but how can you feel better quickly is hydration, sleep, listen to your medical professionals, and then also let's get into a physical therapist if you're not reaching your goals and getting your stamina back up. It could be a breathing pattern that just happened because of being sick. It could also just be a dysfunctional breathing pattern that needs to be re-educated or re-coordinated in order to feel better. Okay? So we have the inverted balloon. So the inverted balloon, top of the balloon coming down to the bottom, we want to use diaphragmatic breathing. Now the problem is, what a lot of people think of when they do diaphragmatic breathing is, I'm going to breathe with my stomach, right? So that's diaphragmatic breathing, and there's a lot of good to that. However, if I'm just breathing with my stomach, and my diaphragm, when it does that, so when I take a breath in, my diaphragm sits like a dome right here underneath my ribs, and then it descends, and that's what increases the pressure into my abdominal cavity or into my stomach, and then fills up my lungs. Then when I relax, that dome then decreases its tone, and the air gets pushed back out. Okay? So we're thinking about, instead of just pushing the balloon out this way, is let's actually increase the balloon in all directions. So what we call circumferential or circular breathing, and that's why I'm talking about the balloon, the top of the balloon here, the side of the balloon, and then the neck of the balloon here, is so you think about everything moving together, or what I sometimes will call it accordion breathing, or if people remember the what's called the bellows at your fireplace, the things that come open and close like that, you want your rib cage opening and closing when you're doing that as well. Okay, so it's more of a mental imagery and then a tactile feeling that you'll get. Okay, so we're going to talk about just diaphragmatic breathing. We're going to talk about 2 different ways to start breathing correctly again. So we're going to talk about 4-7-8 breathing. We're also going to talk about box breathing. Okay, so box breathing, think about a box, and 4-7-8 breathing is counting 4, 7, 8 breaths. So I'll go through that and try to talk you through it as I do it. Okay, so we have the balloon. We have circumferential breathing, not just belly breathing or diaphragm breathing. And then you have the different types of breathing that we can go through as well. And this is to help your pulmonary and also the blood perfusion so that you get that oxygen into the blood. Okay? So we'll go over that here. So I'm just going to get in a position to show you kind of the best position to get this is lying down, because then you can actually breathe into everything and be able to feel it. Okay. Hopefully you'll be able to see me here. Good. So I'm sitting with my knees up because that takes tension off of my hip flexors. I'm thinking about my rib cage expanding out to the side and then my diaphragm coming up this way. So think about that balloon. So I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth, and there's a reasoning for that. When you breathe in through your nose, you're actually increasing the temperature of the air, which helps it absorb. And you're also adding nitric oxide to it, but that's only done through your nasal passages, not through when you breathe through your mouth. So there's a method to that. So yeah, I still have a bit of my cough when I'm dealing with this. So you're going to breathe in through your nose, and you're going to think about that expansion. And it's not just my belly, but I'm feeling my ribs come out this way too. And then out. Okay? So I'm thinking about my ribs coming out this way and my belly coming up. And you should actually feel your ribs moving down into the bed or the table that you're lying on. So 4-7-8 breathing is going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, breathe out for 8 seconds. So this is a good way to relax as well as to increase the oxygen into your bloodstream. So I breathe in for 4, hold, out, in, hold, out, and then you go through cycles of that. So that's 4-7-8 breathing. That one, think about that balloon. So the neck of the balloon and then the body, the top of the balloon is in your belly, and you're moving that down when you breathe in. You're going to feel your ribs expand as well. So that's 4-7-8 breathing. The other one I like is called box breathing. So think of a box or a square. You're going to breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in for 4, and you just keep going that way. Okay? So you imagine a box. So on my ceiling I have little squares, so I can just sit there and breathe and follow it. Okay? So you can visually and tactfully do this so that you're increasing the oxygen intake into your bloodstream, helping your central nervous system calm down, as well as just help your pulmonary and cardiovascular systems, okay, after you're sick. This is a great way to actually just get that blood, that oxygen back into that blood. So in through the nose, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. So I just went through 2 or 3 rounds of box breathing, okay? So those are a couple different ways to help you try to bounce back from being sick or getting the sucker that we have all this been waiting for and feeling bad about. But one, if you are fairly healthy, it shouldn't keep you down for too long, usually about 48, 72 hours, or at least that's my experience in it. And then also from my experience also, it's more of a pulmonary or respiratory issue that is lingering around. And so making sure you work on your breathing pattern again, because we'll get this upper chest breathing pattern when we're irritated or painful or anything like that. We'll start breathing with our chest more. So those are 2 areas or 2 ways you can start breathing more correctly. So the inverted balloon, rib cage moves out, the diaphragm moves down, so you're filling up that whole balloon, and then the box breathing and 4-7-8 breathing. Okay, so hopefully this was a little helpful for you. I didn't see any comments come through, so if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to put them in the comments, and I will go over those next time I jump on live here next week. But I pray that everyone's staying healthy and safe, and please reach out if you have any questions for us going forward. It's Dr. Trevor from Peak Potential Physiotherapy and Wellness. Have a great Friday and a great weekend coming up. Thanks.